but it is just a pair of games. We have to see, can they bring those improvements up against some really tough competition here in TL, who, well, yes, people are criticizing them and saying, hey, you're not meeting our expectations. They're still 6-3. They're still a very strong team.
They still have a super fast game time as well, which speaks to when things are going well for them, they can absolutely dominate. That's one of the things that they're really good at with Core JJ and Santorin and stuff, is blowing games open. But there's the times where they just never really get into gear, and the enemy team can find leads on them. And then they actually lose very quickly because they're not used to playing, it seems like, from behind those positions.
Well, you know that they are going to be expecting to make this one of those quick games, especially if they are to live up to their own expectations. They should be able to slam a team that is 2-7.
Yeah, and Bwipo talked about being third, being good for some teams. I was on a team that got back-to-back thirds. Didn't always feel great. I can attest. And then we missed Worlds in the gauntlet run.
I hate to see it happen.
Yeah, so, you know, not always satisfied with thirds, even if you don't have insane expectations.
But I get what he's saying, right? Like third is a good placement, but it is not their kind of the expectations that have been set for them, or the expectations that they have for themselves. I wonder if it's just Corki or like Victor. Do they just triple ban control mages mid? No, in fact, it is going to be Gwen. So a couple of control mage bans thrown towards PoE. That is still, of course, his bread and butter. That is really where he has made his career. But it is interesting because Victor is his most played, Ari's second most played this split. So they're not, in fact, banning those out. They're banning kind of more like historically what has been his comfort champs.
Yeah. I think also banning out the things that if you're going to lose, it might be because he got one of these control mages, game went late, he wins a team fight or something. With the Corki nerfs as well, you think maybe that's taking care of itself. We do see people trying to adapt the build. Does it still work as well with less AP ratios on things and whatnot? So maybe they think that takes care of it itself.
Well, I do like this first pick, Poppy, for Immortals. Very, very strong pick, like we were talking about in the last game. Really showing up as one of those top-level junglers that can do a whole lot of work, especially if your opponents have a bunch of dashes that they're going to be playing into it. Team Liquid going to respond, locking in the Seraphine.
Ooh.
There's going to be some team fighting on the menu.
Very likely farming Seraphine bot is my expectation for Hans. So now I'm kind of curious to see what the pairing would be. Are they going to draft the full bot lane here, or are they going to just hold that second pick for later? Of course, theoretically, it can go mid. People play some Seraphine mid, but much more commonly, we're seeing it not as support, not as mid lane. It is as the farming bot laner.
And I mean, Bjergsen is a team player and will always play whatever if they are like, here,
Bjergsen
we got
plays
this.
whatever he thinks wins.
It's also like, this thing's strong. Let's just draft it. We'll figure out where it goes later. All right, Bjergsen, there you go. Because Hans so far this split has not played anything other than standard AD carries, but it is very strong in the bot lane, the preferred position. So probably going to end up in his hands.
All right, well, we have a Gangplank locked in for TL and for Bwipo. That one's not really going to have any problem with Poppy. There's no dashes to block. You can eat the orange to get out of a wall slam. Kalista locked in for Immortal.
Ooh, and if you want to play towards bot, right? You know, I always think GP is so strong if you want to play towards bot side. It is going to be Kalista Nautilus, so very aggressive lane here. The answer to their enchanter is all in. We'll see what they're going to be able to do. This does mean, though, when you don't pick your top lane counter here, that TL is going to be able to ban away some of the more common answers. But most of the strongest solo queue picks against GP are ranged top laners, which people aren't really playing. Like, I think Kayle is incredibly strong, for example, in a GP, but not a lot of people are actually using that on the LCS stage these days. And when you have a focus towards bot lane, it's more likely to be a more kind of generic safe pick for Revenge top.
And Revenge also, well, he is willing to play counter picks. He is one of the riskier counter pickers in the LCS. And so if there is a range top that they want to go for, there are also a lot of range tops to pick from. And if you want to throw 2 bans and they get third on his list or something, maybe they're comfortable with that. It is interesting to see the Nautilus over the Renata, which is often what you pair the Kalista with. It's less lane dominant, but maybe better for killing the Seraphine if you just want to, like, at 6, have way more lockdown CC. So we'll see how they want to address that, because otherwise it's a little strange to see the Nautilus pairing.
Yeah, I mean, Renata is really strong for sure, but this is obviously the more aggressive option. It does give you your hard engage, because Poppy is not really hard engage, it's follow-up, right? So if they're not planning on drafting, I mean, Pyreveal is not going to play hard engage, and Revenge has not really been playing much of that. He has 1 Ornn game. That's the only thing I'd really put in that bucket. So I think it's maybe more of a nod to the composition instead of just the 2v2, because I agree. I think Renata in most cases is stronger in the 2v2. Fiora gonna get banned out though. Fiora has risen so much in priority in this split to the point where some people are just willing to straight up blind pick it. We've seen that, you know, from Licorice. Revenge has brought it out once as well. So a couple of those split push top laners have been banned away from him. And if Teal want to play towards bot side with the Alistar, I mean, they already have their own engage. When you pair Seraphine with a melee engage champ, it's very easy to get these long range Seraphine ults where Alistar's running forward, you ult through the Alistar into the enemies, and you kind of get that range extension, which can be really, really strong.
And TL's going to spend their last ban going after one of those picks that you pointed out earlier in the first phase, that Power of Evil has actually played more this split than the Azir or the Orianna. Ahri is one of those safety picks.
It feels like they just kind of want him to play Victor, right? And then have potentially a counter pick here for Bjergsen.
Well, I think it's a good call out too, given that after seeing the Kalista Nautilus, it's more early game oriented than you might have been thinking otherwise. So the Ahri is the thing that would enable this aggressive bot lane if she can get shoved and roam down to the bot lane. This is something that you can kind of take out that roaming mid win con a little bit.
Ban.
Yeah,
so they're thinking this might actually be Seraphine mid, which is interesting.
They're willing to ban out the Draven because they're saying, okay, Draven can just stand there and Chad fight Kalista and beat her.
Yeah, it's just a protection because you did pick the less dominant bot lane. Like we were just saying, they didn't take the Renata. And so if the enemy team sees that and goes, oh, they just left themselves open to actually lose this 2v2, let's flex the Seraphine away, take the Draven and actually just pub stomp them 2v2, then this is saying, okay, we don't want that to happen because we did not take the strong 2v2. It's kind of controlling for that, but again, it's not something we've seen played so far by Hans.
And Team Liquid is going to keep the flex power of that Seraphine all the way to the very end of the draft. They will go ahead, they will lock in Viego in the jungle there for Santorin.
Okay.
Immortals picking up the Sylas
into
here.
Alistar. I actually love that pick.
It's
that's literally all you need.
It's the best ult in the game to steal.
If Alistar is there, nothing else even matters. You have a really effective ult. But Seraphine is great, GP is great. So he does have some good options, but really you want Alistar every single time that is available. So I'm so curious to see what Bjergsen would look towards. I am still expecting this to be farming Seraphine bot, and just kind of the standard Gnar as the answer here. Again, range top laner is pretty strong in a GP. If you're not going to play a super aggressive melee, it's so hard to play in GP because it's just very easy for him to poke away at you, and you can't really play around the barrels.
And if you do play those range matchups, you do need to often send jungle resources up to protect it, and then you're playing to two opposite sides of the map. Exactly. So they're saying Kalistas are all in, kind of like we want to play through bot lane a little bit here, and that's what they're opting into.
Well, with this very short-range composition from Immortals that has Kalista and Sylas and Poppy, Team Liquid say, all right, give us the Swain. The Seraphine goes bottom, Hans will be off a traditional AD pick, and Bjergsen on the Swain to control and combat this dive as it comes towards him.
And I think it fits really well, right? We talked about it last game.
A whole lot, still doing just fine to be able to pick up this whole wave here underneath the turret, dropping the barrel. Envy coming up towards top, might have something to say about this. Bwipo just poking towards Revenge here. This Rift Herald was almost out. There was only about 40 seconds or so left on it, so they do need to drop it, use it just somewhere. And it looks like they'll try to take this turret as low as they possibly can up here in top side. Of course, not enough to guarantee full kill, but at least they get the 2 plays. At least they get the guaranteed money. And they're still looking to make this move. Bwipo getting slammed here. A little bit more damage coming out, and it's first blood over to Revenge.
Nice move by Immortals bot lane. Like we were saying, they start getting proactive on the map. They, with that shove after the dragon, just rotate up to the top side, drop the Rift Herald. They're going to be able to grab this turret as well and keep funneling gold onto both Lost and Revenge.
That was actually great, right? I love the fact that they do this post-dragon take as well, so there's not any chance of a cross-map play.
They're on the river right now. That Rift Herald still in Santorin's pocket. Core JJ, Hans, and Santorin all hanging out here in mid. Bjergsen coming up behind to join them as Bwipo needs to rotate over. Core JJ going in. Seraphine ulti goes out. Kenby's going to be your target here for the start. He's going to be taken very low, but he ain't dead yet. He gets himself away. Team Liquid, dog piling in the middle of everybody. There goes the disengage, and there goes Kenby. It's 1-0 in the fight for Team Liquid.
That was a great fight for Team Liquid. That fat meatball composition you saw, there was a lot of damage thrown their way. A big Gnarl, a lot of damage, a big Everfrost, but just not enough to actually punch through the health bars.
Oh, Core JJ coming over the wall, looking for Revenge, but now Immortals trying to strike back a little bit. Revenge about to drop. Bwipo barely stays alive as Immortals trying to get away from it. Santorin's on the chase, going after Ignar, looking to see if the Spectral Maw can land, but Power of Evil saves his support. TL get 2 for nothing in this fight.
Man, such low health bars there as well. Bwipo barely survives, Core barely survives. And I think Immortals thought they had a really good chance to actually turn that because the Seraphine ult only connected on Kenby, only hits the tank. Megnar is ready to go from Revenge, but they just didn't have the follow-up damage, slowing it down a little bit. Gonna be interested to see if Hans also goes Rylai's, like if they're both just going double Rylai's, or if it's gonna be Demonic Embrace. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Rylai's on Seraphine because, you know, the E unempowered is slow, but Rylai's actually turns it into a root, and then if you empowered, turns it into a stun, so.
Very good stuff there as Bwipo and Revenge 1v1, and Revenge just clocks on.
Nice play by Revenge. They're getting his team an advantage. Team Liquid looking for something on the opposite side, but Immortals playing safe. That buys Revenge some alone time in the bot lane. We'll see what he wants to do with it. Or just take that little sack of gold, go back to base.
It is a bit of a late base here from Kiwi. So he's going to TP straight up to mid. Bwipo is answering top. He does have his ulti and his TP. and they're trying to get mid lane prio here. They're gonna go.
All right, Santorin might just be the target here at the very start. Uses the ulti to get himself away, and a nice team fight coming out as Immortals are going to be locked down here a little bit. Bwipo going on a rampage, Revenge going down. Santorin suffers now as well as Power of Evil looks for more. He's still got the stolen Swain ulti, but Core JJ is looking to take him down. He can't do it, and Lost grabs the kill. Power of Evil keeps on tanking, but he can't find the heal in time. Lost gets cut to pieces, and Bwipo ain't firing blanks. Ignar tries to get out, but Immortals have already lost 3, and it's about to be 4. Bjergsen just needs one more hit, and he gets it. Team Liquid crushed the fight.
Oh, they come through in the end. The initial part of the fight was not bad for Immortals, but PoE, it felt
engaged, but it's going to be a pretty even trade after that nice ejection by Kenvi, so that they're going to finish off Santorin, and you're going to end up losing I think it was the Revenge who died first, and then that was the moment where you're saying, yeah, just fall back from there. You kind of got this zoning potential. You're relatively healthy, and you can maybe burn down the dragon, and at least make it a flip at worst, because you have Smite and they don't, even though Kenvi is very low.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just felt like a big overextension. There was also some honey fruit in the river, so you could have picked that up and tried to heal off that, but back to live, we're fighting again.
Core JJ in the stasis as Power of Evil and Kenvi look to take him out, but they're going to lose their own support in the process. 1 for 1 as Bwipo is knocked away, and Revenge goes forward looking for Santorin. He's going to be in the middle of everybody, but he barely gets away for now. They'll turn their attention back over to Bjerg. The double kill comes through to Lost, and Immortal's got to be careful now. Bwipo's made his way back into the fight, and the barrels are vicious. Kenvi tries to disengage a little bit more. Revenge wants to kite it out. Bwipo goes unstoppable, and Revenge goes over the wall. Immortals trying to get everybody they can.
Come with stopwatch, but it's right back to live.
Every single time, the fights just don't stop now. Core JJ tanking up here on the front line. As Power of Evil's got to be careful. Seraphine ulti flies out. Nicely done from Hans. Revenge locked down, but now trying to get himself away as Core JJ's ready to follow it up yet again. Another Poppy Hammer trying to get rid of the TL Chase squad. It's a 1-0 for TL. They've taken Revenge out of the picture. They have so much health, and they have Seraphine. They're going to the Baron.
Immortals just don't have anywhere close to enough damage to actually burst them down. With Seraphine, this is so risk-free. We'll see if Poppy can get over. Hex Flash coming in from Kenvi.
Core JJ taken pretty low here. No longer has the ulti available to use, and Power of Evil's going to take him out, and now escape as well. Lost tries to stand and fight, throwing Ignar right back into the middle, but they got to be careful because Bwipo is godlike. Lost goes into the stasis, but everybody evaporates around him. A quadra kill to Bwipo, and Team Liquid gets the A.
Bwipo gets his revenge against Immortals after that solo kill, obliterating them in front of the Baron and setting his team up so cleanly after a very long fight. So many cooldowns were spent that his ultimate was just massive.
11-2 now on the gangplank. 4 items, has the IE. I want to see the damage charts for that fight and see if it was as crazy as I'm expecting. We can watch it one more time in the Bud Light Ace. TL starting up the Baron. It's very low risk because they have so much sustain, so much healing. The engage comes through there onto Core JJ, but he's buying time for the team. And Immortals just simply do not have the burst to actually get through those Seraphine shields and get through all of this damage as Lost goes forward, trying to make a play happen here. Santorin gets the first reset, jumps into the body. It was a great stopwatch there to buy a little bit of time to actually dodge it on the hook, but just not enough damage.
And it was definitely a situation where I think they actually had already stopped the Baron attempt with a nice GP ult steal by Power of Evil. They got the kill on the Core JJ and kind of forced them off Baron, and then Lost and Ignar decided that they could keep it.
Bwipo now in a 1 versus 3, trying to stand and fight it. He brings down the ulti, but it won't be able to do much. He dies, but what is the cost? Back in the Immortals base, Nexus turret number 1 collapses. The rest of Team Liquid working together to get that one done. Immortals may have taken out that side laner, but that's about all.
PoE's looking though.
Backing away. Power of Evil coming around from the side, but he's all alone. Now Bjergsen going to be telling the same tale. He goes into the stasis, buying more time. Hans Sama with the ulti, but it's not going to find the distance it needs. Lost, chain CC'd and exploded. No way out for him. Revenge is going to follow shortly thereafter. Immortals, they wanted to use the 5v4. They wanted to find something, but Team Liquid is too far ahead. Power of Evil, stolen Swain ulti or not, it might. Okay, all right, take me higher. That's all cool. That's all cool. Team Liquid, they're still going to get it done, though. Power of Evil Denby.
Any minute
Trying
now.
to get away. It takes a while.
They'll get him.
Yep, they're smacking him around. It takes a second.
Maybe they won't.
Power of Evil still escaping. That infinite duration Swain ulti as long as you got
Double
target.
TP.
Run!
Get out of
They're
there!
bringing in the backup. Team Liquid looking to end the game here. 34 minutes in, 17-8. Team Liquid takes out Immortals.
Nice win by Team Liquid there. Slow and steady, making the right calls though. Waiting until they were finally strong enough to start contesting these objectives. And as soon as they decided it was their time, they basically won every fight from then on out.
Yeah, I mean, they just had a pretty good read on it, right? You know, Immortals, I think, had that one chance, that final fight around mid lane, where if they went a little bit too far, they couldn't get soul. I feel like